There's having a downward spiral, and then there's jumping off a cliff. Like, there is no denying this. There is no disputing this at this point. This isn't a Harmon Smith conspiracy. This isn't just like some thing that I'm pulling out of my ass. Okay? Monster Hunter Wilds has failed to retain a meaningful player base. This game is clearly less popular than Monster Hunter World and the far superior Monster Hunter Rise. The only Monster Hunter in recent memory to come out on a real video game console, right? This should not surprise any of you, because Monster Hunter World was sold to normies as a new IP. It was supposed to be this big, grandiose thing, and what happens? People bought it. Oh, this is too hard for me, even though it's like extremely casual, and they just dropped it. It was forgotten. And so Capcom tried to repeat this formula with Monster Hunter Wilds, and the new monster must be a giant cricket, because all I can hear is just chirp, chirp, chirp. Unbelievable. So what happened? What went wrong? How can we fix this? Like, again, the problem is Capcom, right? Not supporting the real gaming hardware, Nintendo Switch, doing everything in their power to casualize this franchise to try to appeal to normies, and going woke, going broke. I would argue Capcom is probably the second most woke Japanese company, only behind Square Enix. And a lot of that comes through in like things like the character design choice, the story decisions, and their past history, like, involving themselves with like tranny VAs, like there's the situation with like Dragon's Dogma 2 having Susie Hunter, and like some of the, like all the marketing they've done, like essentially by pandering so hard to troons, Capcom has lost any semblance of credibility that they had. If I see a tranny promoting a video game, I am going to walk away from it, like, how like Christian does a 360 to walk away from like an Xbox 360. That's I do that, but not in a retarded way, 180 and then just leave. Like, that is what people are doing to Monster Hunter Wilds. This is essentially Dragon's Dogma 2, right? It's the same exact situation in which this hotly anticipated, massive, just action RPG gets absolutely demolished by just the grim reality that things used to be better. Monster Hunter has reached the point where people have played enough of these games where they're beginning to realize that they've stopped getting better, right? They're not really improving. They're just regressing and just trying to like widen the net and capture in more people. And all of their efforts are just falling flat. Even with like PC gamers doing their thing of acting like they're some like superior, like that the game is really doing really well on their platform. It's doing less numbers than it would if it was on Nintendo Switch. And that's like clearly observable, right? Capcom essentially pulled a Final Fantasy VII with this series, where they popularized it in the West through Nintendo consoles, and when the time came to backstab Nintendo, they did so gleefully with Monster Hunter World. Oh, the Wii U can't run this. I'm sorry, the Switch can't run this. Right? They screamed and cried and like did everything they possibly could. Please buy our game. And what happened? It failed. People rejected World. They didn't like it. It was a huge step down from other entries in the series. The worst Monster Hunter ever, right? And they righted the ship with Rise. Even though they did everything in their power to try and like gaslight people into thinking World was actually secretly way better, and by porting Rise eventually to other platforms. We still don't have World, by the way, on Switch. And now they put out Wilds, and it's just they're seeing diminishing returns, right? Like, this isn't the 90s. You can't just trick people into thinking a game is like top tier by just creating this weird fan fiction alternate reality where like Nintendo was holding you back, like what Square did with Final Fantasy VII. Like, the games did not get significantly better with the jump to PlayStation. And that's just indisputable, right? If anything, I would say it's holding it back because they're not focusing on like actual games for gamers. They're trying to pull in like the Call of Duty and FIFA crowd. And we know that those people don't do anything aside from shoot cops and Grand Theft Auto, right? Like they can't possibly wrap their tiny feeble minds around like doing anything other than like hold R2 to fire a gun in like first person, right? Like anything more than that is just like quantum physics to them. Like they can't understand why you can't just shoot the monster. Okay. Like why is the monster dying? I've hit it twice. It should be done. Like casuals are never gonna be fans of something like Monster Hunter. And stripping down all of its features and all of its difficulty to try to appease these people has shown itself to be a dead end strategy, right? Casualizing Monster Hunter, westernizing it, trying to sell it to global modern audiences, right? It has been a complete and utter failure, right? It's been a train wreck. And what's embarrassing is that like a lot of people aren't admitting that this is a failure. That this is a clear step down from the series' glorious past, and that Capcom, like all Japanese companies, are going to have to bend the knee to Nintendo and exclusively support Nintendo Switch if they're going to be relevant in the future. And we're at the point now where companies seem as if they would rather go bankrupt than meaningfully support Nintendo in any capacity. There was no reason that Wilds couldn't have been a Switch 2 launch title, right? There's no reason they they couldn't have like supported Nintendo Switch more over the past 8 years. Like, where are they at? Like to me, I think it's safe to say that all these companies are just complete shells of themselves and don't really deserve any real attention or respect. Cause like, where are they at? Like again, I don't bother myself with modern slop because I'm too busy playing like all time classics like Tales of Vesperia and Rune Factory 3. Games that I'm sure are like way better than something like Monster Hunter Wilds. But like for the normies out there, they have to contend with the fact that after the disappointment that was Dragon's Dogma 2, which led to DMC guy Itsuno leaving the company, like Capcom's next big thing that they shit on to your plate was Monster Hunter Wilds, another major disappointment. How many failures is it going to take for the gaming industry to realize that Capcom is not what it used to be? How many failures is it going to take before people realize that Nintendo is here to stay and that every other company's attempts at destroying them have completely and utterly failed?